Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today we're going to do something a little different. We're going to have a menagerie of legend, folklore, and encounters by the Dogman. This upload is going to be called Theories of the Dogman. Before we get into this upload, a couple links I'd like to share. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch to help keep this channel growing and going. I also have a second channel for creepypasta, fan fiction, and scary voice acting. Stories that don't fit on this channel. Now, if that's anything that you're into, follow that link below and give those stories a listen. Also, I started a GoFundMe page to help raise some money for urban exploration, ghost hunting, and cryptid hunting equipment. That link is in the description as well. And with that, guys, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with Theory of the Dogman. Shall we? Probably my favorite cryptid is the Michigan Dogman, although he doesn't restrict his appearances to just one state or even one country, as his name implies. He is most often seen in northern Michigan. He's actually more of a wolf man, just like the Mothman is more of a Batman, but both of those monikers were already taken by the time these critters were named by modern Americans. There have always been multiple sightings of two or more dogmen sketched together, so they might more correctly referred to as dogmen. And now that I think about it, I've never heard a single description of them where any sort of external genitalia was mentioned, since one of their most unusual things about their behavior is that they are frequently seen walking upright on two legs. One would think that the anatomical detail would be easy enough to spot. In light of this, maybe we should be calling them dog women. The first recorded sighting of a dogman or woman by a European was in 1804. When a French trapper reported an encounter with a loup-garou, a werewolf. As is usual the case, Native Americans in the area have been aware of these creatures for much longer than this, and their beliefs about them go beyond the idea that they are just an unusual variety of larger-than-average wolves that sometimes walk on two legs. I'll get more into that later when I address some of the seemingly paranormal aspects of these creatures that will make the cryptids or just unidentified animals crowd cringe. The first known dogman sighting in what I suppose we would call the modern era was in 1936, and was not in Michigan but Wisconsin. A man was driving down a highway just outside of the town of Jefferson when he saw what he thought was a man digging in a field that was supposedly once a Native American burial ground. When the guy slowed down to take a closer look, the man in the field stood up and turned to face him. The driver then saw that the creature was what he later described as being part dog and part ape. It was covered with dark fur and had the body of a large, powerful primate, but with a dog's head. And if that's not hard enough to believe, this guy went back to the same field at the same time the next night to see if he could get another look at this thing. And he did. It was right there in the same spot, but apparently now it had lost its patience for being interrupted, because this time it growled what the man thought sounded like the word Gadara at him. That seriously frightened him and he sped away. It has been pointed out by some individuals of certain frame of mind that Gadara was the name of the town where Jesus cast out the legion of demons from a man and into a herd of swine. They take this as indicating that the Dogman is some sort of demonic beast. But I think that's a bit of a reach. One even goes so far as to say that these things are actually werewolves who gained their shape-shifting abilities through a pact with Satan. There are a number of obvious problems with this theory. Namely, it's ridiculous. Also, there is some theological debate about exactly where this casting out of devils occurred, with Gadara only being one possibility. And Dogman's eyes don't even glow red like the demonic entity's eyes are supposedly to. Except for a few times when he is seen with headlights shining in his face, and lots of animals' eyes do that. But enough about the religious paranoid stupidity. Haymarsh Dogman photo, the first modern encounter with the beast in Michigan, was in 1961. A night watchman at a factory located in a rural area adjacent to the Haymarsh State Game Area outside of Big Rapids, Michigan, saw a large shape moving around the outside of a chain-link fence surrounding the building. Since it was 3 o'clock in the morning, he was naturally suspicious and kept a close eye on the person to see what he was up to. As he watched, it became obvious that this was no man. It appeared to be covered with dark fur, was taller and broader than a human, and it moved on 4 legs, pausing now and then to stand upright. The guard managed to snap a picture of the thing as it moved under the light. It doesn't look like much to me, but it also doesn't look like any sort of animal native to that region. He also said that the creature gave the impression that it was looking for something. It ran off into the woods just after its picture was taken. Cryptids are notoriously camera shy. In the mid-70s, 3 men paddling a canoe down a shallow river that ran behind a cemetery near Appalachia, Michigan, saw the large dog running down the shoreline behind them. They didn't think much of it until they heard a splash. Looking back, they saw that the dog was now swimming after them, then rose out of the water and continued to follow them by wading through the water on its hind legs. Completely freaked out, they began paddling like crazy to get away from this thing, which they seemed to have done rather easy. Apparently, the creature lost interest in chasing them down fairly quickly. Most sources of information about the Dogman simply detail a number of encounters, the majority of which are pretty similar, but with a few notable exceptions. One of these is a story of 2 young men who happened to come upon a deer in a clearing. As they watched, a huge dog raced into the clearing, snatched the deer, and carried it off into the woods. That's not typical wolf behavior. Another involved a local Michigan elected official who saw a Dogman standing by the side of a remote road late one night. The man stopped his truck to have a better look, and the 2 of them just stared at each other for a time until the thing ran off into the forest. The man then gets out of his vehicle with a camera and takes a few pictures of the footprints left behind in the mud. He estimates that the prints were about 7 to 8 inches long, which is only slightly larger than the ones that other witnesses have reported seeing. I suppose I should briefly discuss what is known as the Gable film, which shows a boy with a video camera being charged by a Dogman. The story goes that the film was recovered by a camera found lying next to a dismembered body of a child. Its creators have since confessed to fabricating the hoax, and I mention it only in case some of you might still think that is real. To me, the creature of the film looks much more like a wolverine than any description I've seen or heard of the Dogman. So even if it is legit, I'd write it off as an isolated wolverine attack on an unfortunate young boy. One of my favorite Dogman stories is that some teenagers who say they saw a group of these creatures, both walking on 2 legs and drinking from a stream. Rather than sticking their muzzles into the water to drink like a normal canine would, these beings were kneeling at the edge of the stream and drinking by cupping their front paws together and scooping the water up to their mouths like humans. It freaked these kids out, and if you're wondering how they could even do this with paws, some of those who have gotten close enough to look have reported that their front paws have an opposable thumb, albeit clawed ones. My absolute favorite Dogman story is the one where a ranger went to retrieve a body of a dead deer that some hikers had spotted near a trail. He loaded the carcass in the back of his pickup and was sitting in a cab looking at the map when he felt something jostle the vehicle. He looked in the rear-view mirror and saw the top half of a large wolf that must have been on its hind legs. It was trying to use its front legs to awkwardly lift the deer out of the truck bed. The ranger was so unnerved by the sight that he started the truck and sped away in fear. I don't remember whether the Dogman got the deer. I heard this story a couple years ago, and I'm not able to track down the source. Maybe the most famous and interesting alleged photograph of the Dogman is the one dubbed as the Beast of Seven Chutes, named after the region in Quebec in which the picture was taken. The photographer was taking pictures of a waterfall and was unaware that there was anything unusual about that photo, until he noticed something strange in the bottom right corner. Advocates and Dogman true believers say that this is unquestionably a legitimate image of the Dogman. More skeptical analysis say that this is a classic case of pareidolia, the brain's way of convincing us of seeing things that actually random configures of light and shadow. The jury is still out on this one for me, but I can't blame the doubters. On the other hand, it's definitely cool even if it is an illusion. My question is, how did this guy even spot this in the first place? It's not like it jumps right out at you. I could have had that picture hanging on my wall for years and never noticed anything out of the ordinary. So what about the paranormal aspects of the Dogman that I mentioned? Like many sordid varieties of the paranormal, the Dogman has a tendency of showing up in the vicinity of water. They are also found in cemeteries, abandoned buildings, and crossroads. I couldn't find and don't recall any stories of them showing up on bridges, but it wouldn't surprise me if they do that as well. Like most paranormal entities, there is probably a huge discrepancy between the number of sightings made and those reported. There are at least 2 reported incidents of them being hit by cars and suffering no significant injuries, which just isn't normal. There's at least 1 case where one was shot but stubbornly refused to show any ill effects from it, which is absolutely not normal, but normal for cryptids. From Sasquatch to the wolf of Skinwalker Ranch to the Kelly Goblins to the giant dogs of Marley Woods to the Dogman, these things just don't seem to care if you shoot them. Most of the time, they don't even flinch, even if they seem to bleed, most perplexingly indeed. Between 1989 and early 91, there was a rash of Dogman sightings near Devlin, Wisconsin. The summer before all this started, about a dozen dead animals were found in a ditch, and one animal control officer has gone on record for saying that at least some of them had seemed to be ritually slaughtered. Shortly after this, occult graffiti was found covering the walls of an abandoned house in a graveyard, and melted wax was found on some headstones. This led some to believe that the appearance of the Dogman in their neighborhood was a result of activities by Satanists. Maybe, but it's worth remembering that these creatures have been reported before and since these occurrences, sometimes 100 miles away. The only reason I even mention this is somebody had thought that somebody was practicing black magic in the area around Point Pleasant when all the weird goings-on happened in the 60s, including the appearance of the Mothman. Now saving the best for last, There is a secondhand story where two young men were driving down a rural road one night when they drove past a dogman standing on the side of the road. As they passed by, the dogman raised its arms and snarled at them. They said it looked something straight out of a werewolf movie. As they were excitingly discussing what they had just seen, they both noticed that they passed a familiar Welcome to Sparta sign and quickly passed through the little town. As they continued their animated conversation, they were both shocked to once again see the Welcome to Sparta sign and Dogman again passing through the town. Neither of them could understand how they could experience this alien abduction-like occurrence. Of course, there's no proof that this was somehow connected to their Dogman sighting. But it's hard to dismiss the possibility that these two trips through the Twilight Zone were somehow not connected. According to the story's source, a friend of the two, both men, were sticking to their original story 20 years later. So that's the scoop on the Dogman, and before I wrap this up, I should mention that a Native American from this region told one investigator that we would never catch or kill a Dogman because they can step in and out of our world at will. He was obviously implying that the Dogman is some sort of interdimensional being. And the same thing has been said about the Sasquatch by multiple Native American sources in various parts of North America. Maybe that's just silly superstition, or maybe they know something that us Americans really don't. So there you have it, guys. This video is merely speculation, legend, folklore, with some encounters. I myself have had an encounter with a Dogman, and I know many of you as well have too. And there is not really a day that I don't think about it and question what the hell did I see that night. Was my brain playing a trick on me? Was it really real? Well, my thought is with everybody's encounters, some do match, some are very similar, some are completely different, that these are definitely real. The last sentence of the story, though, interdimensional beings. I read somewhere a while ago where the Sasquatch was supposedly that. And I truly do believe it. And now that I think about it, I think the Dogman is as well. What do you guys think? Leave your comments in the description below. And thank you all for listening. And with that, I bid you farewell.